Hello traders, and welcome back to my YouTube channel IPDATrader. Now in today's video we have something very special happening. So essentially guys, this is going to be a little gift from me to you as a viewer. I am going to be sharing with you guys one of the market updates webinar that I do every single week for the mentorship, which is, by the way, not accepting any new members as of now. So I'm receiving a ton of emails asking to join. Unfortunately, I'm not currently accepting any new members. Just wanted to point that out to you. And essentially what you're going to see today is my preparation for every single week, which is what I think every trader should be doing when it comes to the weekends and actually preparing for a trading week. Many traders go into the charts with no preparation, just following impulsive decisions, and it overall leads to disaster. So this is a little gift of mine. What you will see in this video is essentially me doing analysis from start to finish on the major pairs and preparing for the upcoming week. That's what I do every single week to have a better chance of actually being profitable throughout the week. It is exactly where I determine where I sell, where I buy, and why I do that. So everything is going to be covered. The IPDA methodology is going to be explained to you from A to Z. So I really hope you enjoy the video. Now, with that being said, guys, I will leave you with the recording of the private mentorship preparation, and I will see you guys in a further video. Let's get started with today's lesson. Enjoy, everybody, the IPDA methodology. It is the 1st May 2022, and at the beginning of every single month I really like to do fresh analysis. So we're gonna simply be talking a little bit about Friday's price action, because that's when I was actually looking at the market. From Monday to Thursday, basically I was busy doing all this stuff, so I was not looking at the market and trading. So we're going to talk a little bit about Friday's price action, and then we're going to do fresh analysis, because I think it is good to do that every once in a while. I usually do that once again at the beginning of every new monthly candle. So that's what we're going to be doing now. We're going to be going over some stuff, talking about some analysis, and mapping out potential trade ideas and expectations for this upcoming week. Once again, we're going to be looking at EURUSD, GU, GJ, and gold, and we're going to get started right over here with EURUSD. But before we actually do that, guys, remember this is a beginning of a new month. So we will have NFP on Friday. We will see how the pairs move on Monday. But there is a probability that we're going to be ranging for a bit, since we do have that economic data that's coming out on Friday, and there is a probability that price may range, right? But with all that being said, let's talk a little bit about Friday. You know, Friday we had this Asian range, we had the Asian low over here, Sorry for that, just a second. Let me quickly do this, and we can do this. Okay, so this was basically the Asian range. If you look at Thursday, beautiful two-side manipulation. Friday, we basically took the Asian high, Asian low remains untaken right over here, which is a liquidity pool, which is very interesting. We have to pay attention to that. And I think I sent out that I was looking at this POI over here. I think it was based on the 10-minute or 15-minute time frame. I was looking at this area to potentially go short. I was pretty much hoping for this refinement over here, this block that you see, to be tapped. But that never happened so far, at least. And we mitigated, moved down, came back, provided a potential entry, and looks like we ended the week dropping a bit, right? We've been dropping pretty aggressively. So yeah, we're gonna get rid of all analysis and we're gonna start doing fresh analysis once again. So let's go to the daily time frame, and this is where we have a shift, right? Because we've been saying that this particular POI over here was interesting, right? Reason for that is because this is obviously the origin of this impulse to the upside that once again broke structure over here, right? And let me actually do that. We broke structure over there, so I knew that, hey, if we come back to this block, this is going to be an interesting area for me to monitor. Once again, doesn't mean I'm going to be necessarily executing, but it just means I need to pay attention as price hits that block, right? But as you can see, we've just been dropping, so we're not going to be focusing on any more price action to the left. I'm just going to be sticking to whatever information I have right over here. And if we look right over here, we have a break to the downside. Whoops. We have a break to the downside. We have a potential POI to go short. It's pretty far away now, so we're not going to be focusing too much on that. But as you can see, we're going to be going through the multiple time frames and just getting out information that's going to help me, right? So once again, based on the daily, extremely bearish. Looking at the intraday, such as the 8-hour, we can see we have a leg coming down. Now we have some bullish candles, so who knows, maybe we get a retracement over here before we continue short. This breaker block over here, this wick over here, these are important segments for me in this particular chart. Probably an interesting area to monitor, this particular breaker block. But once again, that's quite far away, so let's actually zoom in a little more. We're getting information, looking at the 2-hour. Don't see too much. It's just been, once again, dropping. There's no real structure here. I mean, the closest thing to structure we have, in my opinion, is the break of this low over here, which you can easily label as a break of structure to the downside. You have this, once again, this block over here on top. This is probably your top of the range. If you're looking at this as your low, lower high, lower low, right? This would be awesome to see. But once again, we don't know if that's going to happen. So let's go into the 45-minute time frame and let's get into a little bit more detail, right? So I would obviously, and this is what I do very often, is mark up this opposite end of the range right over here. Once again, you can, let me do this properly. You can include the entire wick. You can use a refinement. I would probably use a refinement over here. Let's turn the indicator on. You can see it is sitting below Asia low liquidity, which is great for us. So we're going to be labeling this. Let's do this. Let's say Asia low liquidity 14 to the right, and we can save that as Asia low. This is essentially liquidity over here. That low over there is interesting. And I would probably, when we have a scenario of this sort, where it's just been pushing very aggressively to the downside and there's no real structure to base POIs and structural breaks from, I would probably just once again box up your range. This is what I would do. Let's use this and probably monitor both areas, right? I mean, I'm more keen to sell just based on the information that we have, but seeing a retracement is a probability, especially since we have a new monthly candle opening. So if this monthly candle is going to drive down, it's probably first going to go up, right? Because of candlestick anatomy. I went over that. So you should know what I'm talking about when I say candlestick anatomy. It's just how candles print and form. And that just makes perfect sense for us to potentially have a retracement, right? But once again, as we have the new Asian range, that will give me more information onto in terms of what direction to actually trade, right? But I would essentially mark this FU over here, which mitigated a block. So you could, and once again, this is completely fine and valid. This is how I'm currently seeing things. You could potentially anticipate a last point of true mitigation forming right at that area over there, right? That's essentially a good probability. If that gets taken out, you can see we have more liquidity on top, another Asia high, another Asia high, another Asia high. You can see we're stocking Asian highs, which is an indication for me that whenever we are going to be moving up, we will have liquidity to grab in order for us to have fuel to actually move in that direction, right? You can see trendline liquidity over here starting to build. Interesting, not too relevant in that case in my opinion, so I wouldn't necessarily do that. I could potentially add that this segment over here, this consolidation block POI, is also an interesting area for me to go short based on the fact that it's sitting above Asian high liquidity. So we're gonna take a second over here. We're gonna do that. We're gonna label this as well, Asia, my bad, Asia high liquidity. We're gonna be adding this as well. And essentially, this is the price action that I would focus on. I wouldn't be too concerned with anything else really, because based on how we're currently dropping, this is what makes sense to me, right? I want to potentially short over here, potentially short over here. Let's see if we can, let me draw an example over here. If we get an Asian box of this sort and the Asian high gets taken first, I would love to potentially go short, target this Asia low, target this Asia low, completion over here, where I would probably try and look for longs, right? Because once again, we have a new monthly candle, so expecting a retracement to the upside is probable in my experience. So this is what I'm currently doing, right? I'm anticipating a last point of true mitigation to form over here, right? Once again, this is just an anticipation. If it does not, then that's all well and good, and I will just continue waiting for the next area and essentially try to short over here, try go long over here below Asia low liquidity, right? I don't think there's anything else you need to consider. As you can see, I'm just making it easy for myself. I'm just asking myself, where do I want to sell this market and why? And where do I want to buy this market and why, right? Those are the questions you have to be going over when actually trying to do analysis, right? If you really want to label a break in market structure, this is the one that I see most relevant. This is potentially your leg, right? Right over here from top to bottom. And you say, hey, but these POIs are not discounted, right? Because they're not above the 61%. And I completely agree with you. That's correct. But based on the momentum and the volume that we're seeing dropping, well, waiting for an area over here is all well and good, but you might have to wait weeks for that to happen, right? And once again, if I go short over here, I'm not gonna expect it to drop 100 more pips. I'm just gonna try and see if I can target some Asian lows into the opposite end of the range, and that's gonna be it, right? So that's essentially what I see on EURUSD. We're not gonna be moving on to GU, which is very similar. Obviously, they're correlated. We've been dropping aggressively as well. I had these POIs over here. Unfortunately, right, we never came back up over there to provide an entry. It just kept dropping and dropping and dropping further down, right? So let's do fresh analysis once again. Let's go to a daily time frame. We're gonna repeat the same process. This is interesting over here because we do have POIs on the left. Particularly this FU is interesting to me. So let's actually go ahead and mark that out for everybody. We have this particular FU. We have this one over here as well, which previously mitigated a block right over here. So you know that that's going to be a relevant area. So this one over here is actually taken out, so nothing over there to really look at. You can potentially add the entire last sell before you buy candle, whatever you want to do with that, and you can see we're essentially probably tapping into that already, right? And we've seen that mitigation. Cool. That's some information that's good for me. Now we look into a little bit more of the recent price action. Same ideas apply. We have this as the most recent break. This is what I would consider the break of structure to the downside over here. It's on the 8-hour, can probably refine it further. Let's turn the indicator on. Let's actually take a look into the lower time frame and look at the liquidity pools. Asian low, both manipulated, Asian high and taken, Asian high and taken, Asian high and taken, right? Very similar to EURUSD, not a surprise. So let's go back to the 2-hour time frame. You can see we're starting to break some sort of internal structure, right? Right over here, we have some breaks. Right over here, we have a break. This is actually pretty good. So let's label that. This is the break, and this is the expansion that I would consider. But it could very well just be a liquidity grab to continue dropping further down, right? So we have to be paying attention to that. So this is the higher time frame block. This is your recent break. We have more breaks over here. Imbalance. You can see the imbalance effect over here. Clean move down, clean move up. Fails that. That's great. We're gonna be labeling the Asian low right over here. I would see this low over here as a very clean internal break. Once again, not external, not like this one over here, but an internal break, right? And seeing this scenario over here is something that I've seen very frequently, and I would love to potentially go short over there, right? Potentially, based on if we're going to be having some sort of confirmation in terms of timing, order flow, and things like that, right? So that's a probability that I'm anticipating. So that's quite good. We can potentially, once again, denote the opposite end of the range, which is what I like to do over here. I can go and do that. Below Asian low, pretty awesome. This is an area I would potentially go long if there is an opportunity to do that, actually, based on the fact that this is a higher time frame block, which is bullish in the external structure, right? If we go back to the daily, you will see how this broke structure to the upside right above this high. So seeing that happen is a probability. Obviously, would much better be over here, but we're currently over here, so this is good enough for me. Let's go once again to a 30-minute time frame, and this is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be denoting this POI over here, and I'm going to anticipate. Let's do that. If this breaks, I would try to go short over there to potentially continue dropping to fill all this inefficiency. This tells me that we're going to have a easy time moving down over here. So that's great for me if I want to go short, right? I would potentially go long as well based on the break of structure to the upside over here. Potentially, this is Asian low, so POIs over here are actually quite difficult, wouldn't consider them at all. Now, in terms of all the sell areas, this IFC structure is quite interesting to me as well. Right above imbalances, this is an interesting area to me as well. It's very similar to EURUSD, right? So we can do that. This is an interesting area to potentially short for me. This is an interesting area to potentially short if we get that internal break, right? So that's essentially everything that I see for GU. I don't see really anything else. I'm just working with the information that's given to me right here. Once again, I know that we have liquidity over here. I know that this leg down is pretty extended, so retracements are happening right now. So I'm essentially open to taking both buys and sells, right? Open to taking both buys and sells. Okay, so that's pretty much everything that I see for this pair. We're probably now going to be continuing with GJ. I think it has some better structure. And we're going to be talking about this pair right now. Let's see what we can identify for this next week. So let's zoom a little bit in. Let's maybe go to a daily time frame to see what kind of structure do we have on the higher time frame. So once again, let's focus on the recent price action. It's been very bullish. We had that new higher high print, so this retracement makes perfect sense. We've been expecting that. It looks like it has hit this particular structure point, and now it's moving up once again, right? So that's some information over there. That's interesting, right? Let's get rid of all analysis. Let's go to a 8-hour time frame. This is quite good. I had this POI marked. If you go through the IPDA Trade Ideas channel, I think you will see that. So this particular POI ended up playing out very nicely, moved up 450 pips at that point. So let's go to a 3-hour time frame. Looks like it broke some sort of internal structure over here. Quite interesting. Maybe zoom a little bit more. We can now turn the indicator on. As you can see, I'm just following the very same process. I identify my break, which is above liquidity. So that's a little bit tricky. Nevertheless, still a break. We can label that. Looks like we've tapped into this sell area over here, right? You can see that. And looks like we're starting to see a drop over here, which took out Asia low, traded into this FU, and now moving up, right? I think on Friday I essentially had this analysis right over here, just this range, because that's essentially what price was doing, right? It was ranging, not really much to do. You can try and trade the opposite end of the ranges. You will have success if the market is indeed ranging, right? So that's interesting. Let's go to a 45 minutes. We've broken structure. Actually, if this price action over here would have taken out this low, I would be very confident in trying to look for a short over here, but that has not occurred yet, right? Still occur, it has not occurred just yet. So based on this break over here, this allows me to mark out bullish POIs, right? Fortunately, this POI over here is Asian low, this one over here as well. Above that, we have imbalances. So I would probably stick to this area over here. This looks quite good to me. If we go into a little bit of a lower time frame, we could potentially refine that area. You can do that and use this, but I would always include this lower end or this lower boundary over here because it's a bullish block and you want to do that for bullish blocks. Right, so this would be an internal break. If this occurs, right, let's draw this example just in case it's not clear. If this occurs and we retrace, I would love to go short, potentially from this FU over here to drop down. And I would still look for shorts unless we trade above this high over here. Okay, so that's a potential expectation. I'm going to anticipate that as well. I'm going to draw out my FU candle over here. We can do that. We can also add this one over here. And any bullish POIs over here, they're not too interesting to me. More sell areas, obviously. This FU sticks out. Quite obvious. We can denote that as well. Looks good to me. But it's just very difficult price action, right? I don't want to essentially do anything over here unless we get that break below this low. And apart from that, if we continue dropping further down and we don't retrace, then I will just wait for this bullish block to potentially move up. Then we'll see if we get a new leg lower or if we push higher, right? That's essentially what I'm seeing on GJ. Once again, I don't want to do anything over here unless we break below that low, which would be considered a internal break in my opinion and the way that I'm viewing this particular market, right? I want to see if this high over here actually mitigated anything. And as you can see, this is a breaker block, right? Let me actually do that for you guys. This right over here is a breaker block. We've tapped that, we've moved down, moved up, failed to clear this high. Now we're moving down again, right? So this is the latest thing that I'm seeing right now. So I could anticipate this once again being a last point of true mitigation to potentially continue moving further down, right? So we're going to label that. We're going to say last point of true mitigation right over here. Once again, if you want to trade lower time frames, absolutely fine. You have this FU over here, which we've already tabbed. Been moving up ever since, so you're free to do whatever you want, right? I'm just sharing how I want to do things and how I'm confident in executing positions, right? This breaker block over here is also quite interesting, but the fact that we do have Asian low over here kind of makes it a little bit tricky and risky. I mean, I'm gonna keep it, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna trade it. I'm just gonna keep it and monitor it and see what we do. I think it can provide me with some sort of guidance, right? But at the end of the day, what I want to do is wait for the Asian range. Want to see where we manipulate. Maybe this could be used as a short-term bounce, right, into supply before we continue dropping. We don't really know, but just wait for the Asian range. It will give you information, right? So this is my break over here to the upside. We're obviously bullish if you look at the higher time frame. So seeing a short-term drop at the beginning of the month is something that could very well happen, since we have a new monthly candle printing, and probability dictates that if the new monthly candle is going to be moving up, it's probably first going to drop down, grab some liquidity, going to leave a wick, and then it's going to start flipping. It's going to create at some point the high of the candle. It's going to retrace again right after it prints the high, and it's gonna look for that closing price somewhere over there, and we'll have a new bullish candle print, right? We will have the open, we'll have the high, we will have the low, we will have the close, right? Those are the four landmarks of a candle that you want to pay attention to. So with all that being said, I don't think there's anything else to cover. This range over here is quite difficult. Don't essentially don't bother with that. There's no point. High probability you're gonna lose money. If you're trying to trade over here, I'm just simply gonna wait and see where we're gonna break. If we move down, great. I'm gonna look to buy over here. If we move up, great. I'm gonna look to sell over here potentially, right? And there are more bullish, bearish blocks over here, right? Another, what's this? Another break block with imbalance to the right happens quite frequently. You can see those zones are pretty good to trade. This origin over here, pretty interesting as well. I'm just essentially, once again, we're gonna do that. We're gonna say open to both, taking buys and sells. So with that being said, we're gonna move to gold. It's been quite a while since I've traded gold. It used to have better moves in my opinion, but I wanted to trade this sell area, which I shared with everybody, but there was no confirmation. It tapped, it dropped. Unfortunate. What can you do, right? Risk entry would have been nice, I guess. So I had this bullish block over here, which is a breaker, right? You can see we bounced off of that. It's quite good. Let's remove all analysis, right? So let's go to a daily time frame. Let's try to get some more information over here. Looking at the daily, we failed to clear those yearly highs. Remember that. It's interesting to me. Looks like we broke out of a range. That's quite good. Go to a 8-hour time frame. This over here looks like quite, whoops, wrong tool, my bad. This over here looks like a quite significant, sorry for that. Let me actually do that. This over here looks like a quite significant break to me to the downside. So I can label that. I can now move on. That's good. This low over here, you have to be asking yourself, where is it coming from? And if you pay close attention, you can see that's your breaker right over there. Whoops. That's your breaker right over there. We've tapped that. We've now cleared some internal structure. We're potentially moving down again. Good. Go to a 2-hour time frame. You can label this bullish break. Let's turn this on. You can label this right over here. BOS to the upside. And very similar story to each and every single of the other pairs, right? We have a block over here where I potentially want to go short. We have this, let's do that. So this is Asian low. That really sucks because this POI looks quite good. But once again, I'm gonna denote it, not necessarily gonna be trading it, but I wanna see what we do over here. So I'm gonna label that. This is a potential block to go long. But since this is liquidity, we don't really know what's gonna happen over there, right? We did have some sort of liquidity over here. Not too relevant once again, so I'm not gonna keep that. Let's see over here, right? We did have pretty clean trendline liquidity over here being taken out, right? But that's in the cash, not really relevant for me at this point. So this particular area is a potential block for me to go short, even though it did not break any sort of structure. But since we're so bearish and we just had the opportunity of seeing this retracement, it would not be surprising to see just price continue dropping to the downside, right? So that block is going to be good. This block over here, I'm going to be cautious with it. We have liquidity over here, quite good. And this is more liquidity. Asian low, Asian high taken out, good. Asian high over here. Potential bearish blocks as well. You have this over here. It's quite good. This segment over there, even though it's pretty far, you can still keep that. I'm going to be doing that. And essentially, I'm going to be, once again, doing the very same thing. Open to both, taking buys and sells. So I'm going to wait for the Asian range. I think it will help me in terms of determining direction for the intraday or the trading day in particular. Remember, we have NFP on Friday, so we'll see how gold's going to behave, how gold's going to move. But essentially, this is an area to go short from, in my opinion, 1914, 1919. Potential longs at 1880, 1872. Mind you, it is, oh, it's not actually Asian low. Awesome, right? This makes it so much better and easier for me to trade, right? This is why you have to flick through multiple time frames, because if you just would have stick to the 3-hour time frame, this does look like it's Asian low. But as you zoom into the lower time frame, you can see 6 a.m. Asian range is done. We clear the Asian low, we clear the Asian high, right? Awesome. So this is a very good area to long. This is a very good area to short, and anything in between over here, not too interesting. And you may be asking yourself, why? Well, Asian low, trendline liquidity, imbalance, right? Really not that good. So yeah, that's essentially everything that I'm currently seeing in gold, right? Structure is not as clean as it used to be a couple months ago, so we have to adapt. It's not a big deal. There's still opportunity. There will always be opportunity, right? So these are the opportunities that I see. Maybe if you want to look at the lower time frame once again, you could say that this is over here, potential structure being broken. So you may want to add this POI over here. Not going to do that because it's just very close to my sell area. So I'm not going to be bothering with that. And that's essentially everything there is for this week. I apologize for my inactivity. I was moving house, had to take care of some stuff, family as well. So I was quite busy. I was not even able to look at the Discord community, which I apologize for. So yeah, I'll try to be more active this week. I'm gonna be more active. I can guarantee you that. And yeah, we'll stay in touch. I'm going to be sharing my thoughts as the week develops. Remember that this is just an expectation based on the information that we have right now on Sunday. As the market opens, it can gap up, gap down, don't really know, but it will be easier to trade as you have the candles printing, as your timing comes around, as your Asian range is there, and things of that nature. So don't get too stressed. In my opinion, it is very difficult to do analysis right now, at least on the pairs that I trade, based on the idea that it has been in such a bearish trend, at least EURUSD, GU, and gold recently, that it's just been expanding ranges and not allowing you to enter retracement and things like that, right? So now, with all that being said, guys, thank you very much for listening. I will update you guys on everything that I see. I will be sharing my thoughts and ideas. I will be answering questions. So feel free to do that as well. Drop your questions, send your analysis. It's going to help everyone in the community at the end of the day. We're retail traders, each and every single one of us. So we should be trying to work together. So thank you very much for listening, guys. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys very soon. Take care, everybody.